You're listening to Sarah Hagan Backstage, with interviews and insights from years inside the music industry. Join Sarah as she talks with masters of their crafts, finding out what makes them tick, both inside and outside of the music business.
Welcome to Sarah Hagan Backstage. My guest today, Adam Deitch, is an incredibly versatile funk drummer who spans musical genres with his creative projects. We are going to talk today about his start in music, how he stayed busier than ever during the pandemic, his many projects, his record label, and his online academy. So come along with me as I catch up with Adam Deitch. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely. It's so great to see your face.
You too. It's been a minute.
It has been. It's been a few minutes for sure. But I'm really, really happy that you're here today and then we get a chance to catch up and chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would love to just start out by hearing how things have been for you over the past couple of years. I've seen a lot of things that you've been up to, but obviously all of our lives changed pretty drastically just about a couple years ago. So update us. How have things been for you?
Pretty productive on the recording end. I probably recorded about 7 records in the past 2 years. I've never done anything like that in my life. Started 3 new bands. Started a Deitch Academy, like a lesson site where I'm kind of teaching the stuff that I know about with funk and hip hop, stuff like that. And just like kind of staying motivated, and with less touring comes more opportunities to get other things together. So that's kind of how my pandemic's gone. And a lot of private teaching as well, like just on Zoom, and writing, creating new lettuce records, all kinds of new stuff.
Wow. I knew you were busy, but that sounds so good. And it's amazing that you've been able to find ways to really like make your time productive.
Absolutely.
That's so good. That is so good. And I do have to mention, I did see one thing that you took on over the pandemic, and that was driving.
It was what?
Right? Driving.
Oh, I went
right?
driving. I really wish that was true. I went. I'm from New York, for those that don't know, and
yes,
we have these things there called trains
yes,
and cabs, and you just go like this, and a cab. But this is before Uber and everything. So I never learned to drive. I was in New York for the city for a long time, and moved to Denver. And then when I go home and visit my parents, my dad will take me out for, let me drive, and he'll like go like this and cover his eyes and laugh while I drive around the town. That's what that was. So it's not like I really learned. I could drive a standard, and I could get, my friend home if they're too drunk to drive,
right.
But am I going on the highway and driving around Denver? No, I'm not doing that at all.
No.
But I will definitely. My friends want to take me on more driving lessons, so I think it might be better to do with them as opposed to my parents, my parents just get too nervous and start laughing at me. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, your dad posted this video, and I loved it because it was hysterically funny, Adam. Like, you are, I love your parents anyway. We'll just put it out there. Your parents are the best. And
thank you.
so, yeah, absolutely. And they're so supportive. They're so incredibly supportive. And so to see your dad in the passenger seat, like, and you have this look on your face, like you're like, stop recording, let's go. So good.
Yeah, I knew he was going to do it, but it was mainly to make my friends that know I don't drive at all, to make them laugh. Like, to see me behind the wheel is like seeing like Stevie Wonder behind the wheel or something,
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. And I have so many friends from New York who don't drive because like it's really a pain, especially if you're in like the heart of the city, to own a vehicle.
Yeah.
And, so if you grow up,
it's scary to learn to drive in New York City. It's frightening.
Yes!
Yeah.
I do not drive in New York City. I don't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you. But I love that. I was like, yeah. Okay, so But you have been, like, I've seen some of the things that you've been doing. One of the things that you did a couple weeks ago in New York at the Blue Note, um, your posts were incredible. It was like a who's who of the music community, and it was so funny. Like, you had a picture, and you had posted about like Mono Neon being there and Mike Mitchell, Louis Cato, and
Will Calhoun sat in also
oh my gosh,
from Living
really?
Color. Yeah, so that was
That's
major.
incredible.
Yeah.
So what was that event where everybody was there?
I've been friends with DJ Logic for years. He got his start. He was a DJ around New York, and then he connected with Mineski Martin Wood, and kind of created this like sort of hip hop meets jam scene, which I was like, yes, like this is what I'm about. Like, you know, that's what I'm into, like hip hop, and then keeping it funky, and then extending it with solos and that kind of thing, you know. And he was super into that, and he's been doing, you know, putting together different groups over the past 20, 30 years, you know, 25 years. And he called me. He's been calling me to do some stuff, and I gave him a list of guys that I really did, you know, that I really love, and he called them, and you know, Alex from the Blue Note was down to host it, and it became this amazing, you know, experience that it was a life changer for me. Just being up there with all those, you know, with Fred Wesley and then Mono Neon and, you know, James Hurt on keys and Carl Denson, like a lot of different age groups and eras and styles.
Yes.
And I just felt super honored to be there. And shout out to DJ Logic for putting together a really cool crew, you know.
That was super. It looked like the place that you want to be, basically. I was like, I wish I'd been there. Anderson .Paak was there too, right?
Yeah, and he came down with Maurice, you know, my good friend Maurice Brown, who's been playing with him and was also, you know, played with Lettuce a bunch of times. And we're like really good friends. So yeah, Andy flew in for Maurice's birthday to hang out, you know, and then next thing you know, they're sitting in the club, and you know, Andy's really cool, and I was like, you're playing, man. Let's get him up. He's ready. He's always ready to play, you know.
Yes.
He got up, and then after we took some pictures, hung out, and he's like, let's go hit the bar. And we went to the bar and took some shots and hung out, you know, and just had a great night. And you know, I found out he used to play in church like 4 or 5 nights a week growing up. Like that was his only place to learn to play drums and to get as proficient as he is. And just we kind of interviewed each other. It was kind of cool, you know. Learn a little bit about each other, and
I love that.
It was great. He's a great dude, and he deserves every bit of success that he has right now.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I when he did the Tiny Desk concert, I was just like, this is incredible. I must have listened to that. I can't even tell you how many times I listened to that. It's just from start to finish, it's perfect.
Name one drummer that could rap and sing.
Right?
You know,
I mean,
like,
it's so good. It's so good. So I started like just like telling everybody, sending that link to that Tiny Desk series to everyone, and I was just like, listen to this. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then when he ended up, you know, more recently playing with Bruno Mars and oh my gosh, all this stuff. I'm just like, yes, this guy, you're right.
Yeah.
Like
they brought funk back, and they introduced funk music to a whole new generation of kids that have no idea what that is. And the music is really funky. It sounds great, you know?
Yes.
So I'm just like, it's just a win all, and they put Bootsy Collins on the album, and Bootsy's on our new album. So it's all working out with this timing thing. It's like, I love it. I love it. They're warriors for the funk, and they love it. And it's really just kind of uniting the community in an awesome way.
I love that too. I love that. And speaking of Bootsy Collins, I have to say one of the things I miss about NAMM, and like right now we should be at NAMM. Like NAMM should be happening right now. It's this time of year. My Facebook memories are popping up, and I'm like, oh man, you know, NAMM time. But Bootsy, it was like a staple of NAMM. Like you go to NAMM and you see Bootsy, and he would just walk around and take pictures with everybody. Like, what a cool guy.
Really cool. Him and his wife, Peppermint Patty, are so cool. And they just live in this beautiful world of love and respect. And, and they heard this Lettuce song that we sent, I sent to them through a friend. And Patty sends me back, he loves it, and he's going to get on it, and he's going to sing, and he's going to play bass. And I'm like, I heard these rumors that he wasn't playing it often and all this stuff. And it's just so we're really excited about that. And the cat's out of the bag. And I just can't wait for people to hear it. It's called Keep the Funk Alive. That's the name of the song.
Perfect. That is perfect. I can't wait to check that out. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
And like I've never met Bootsy's wife, but I love that her name is Peppermint Patty.
Yes.
Like that's just perfect. I need a name like that. But yeah, that's awesome though. I'm excited to hear that music and again, like the community is so amazing. Like it's everyone's there for each other, playing with each other, showing up to events like you just talked about, and yeah, it's just amazing. I love it. And so just to like bring it back a little bit to another really great community, and I already mentioned your parents, but they deserve another mention because your mom and dad are the sweetest. Never mind the fact that they're both drummers and like really great drummers. And I just love the fact that you grew up with a mom and dad who played drums and you were like immersed in music at a young age. And I know you've said like there was no pressure there. It wasn't like you were pressured to play music, but you were just surrounded by it. Right. So it was like
Absolutely.
A natural thing for you.
Yeah. The house had drums, 2 drum sets set up all the time in the basement. And it would either be me and mom playing or me and dad playing or them 2 playing. And we would take turns. And, my mom was, my parents were a duo. So they worked all over the, New York, Jersey, Connecticut, and as a duo. And my mom was the drummer, and my dad was the keyboard player, even though my dad kind of learned songwriter's piano so he could play with her. And he kind of like, got really more into songwriting and playing keyboards, even though he's an amazing drummer also. But I grew up watching my mom as the primary drummer, in my life, like the primary drumming influence, and she's very wonderful, warm woman, loving woman. But when she's playing the drum, she gets this, this mean face, like and she's grooving and she's business, on the kit, and she's professional and like the right fills and the right thing and the tempo is perfect and the feel is right, so. And my first experiences, 2, 3, 4, 5, before that was seeing her play,
Yeah.
And all the way up to like I was 14 when she started teaching full time. I saw them play all the time, and yeah, I'm forever in debt for what they've given me and all their musician friends. And when we eat dinner, they talk about, we're listening to jazz and like my dad will be like, who's that? And I'm like, oh, it sounds like Roy Haynes. No, it's Art Blakey. Okay. Like it was always like, these questions, he was always asking me questions. My dad's a college professor of music also. And my mom has her like almost her doctorate in like teaching, education. So they're always like asking me questions and trying to find out, where the limits of my knowledge of the music is, and so that's a fun game. We always played and it was always fun. It was no pressure. It was just like, being knowledgeable is cool. And it's fun, and it's not like some chore,
Yeah.
But that's just the way that they teach. That's why I think they're the best teachers ever. They should do a drumeo, the 2 of them.
They should. They should. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's fantastic. A lot of professional drummers came from really supportive backgrounds because it takes supportive parents to encourage and give the time to their kids to like really hone their skill and be really passionate about it and have that passion understood. So I just think it's so
you know
fantastic.
all about that. You know about that.
Yeah. Go drumming moms, right?
Yeah, drumming moms. Yeah, the best.
We need a drumming moms club. And the seriousness of like, you're the loving, caring mom, and then you get behind the kit and you have to like turn it on. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And so you were like not only playing drums at a young age, but other instruments, right? You were like exploring other instruments and producing too. I think you told me about like producing for your friends and like,
Yeah,
well, the musicians that would come over to the house, and you were like a teenager.
absolutely. My dad plays like 5, 6 instruments. My mom plays about 3 or 4 and can teach about 20 instruments. My mom could teach clarinet, trumpet, trombone, everything. So I have a basic understanding of a lot of different instruments thanks to them.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, had me at piano lessons at 5. And so, I was studying with their friends and and the GB band or whoever my dad played with, that I was, always studying and learning from them. And so I started producing at a young age and, playing. It's funny. I dropped a video today on Instagram of me playing a couple instruments, and it just went like, because people had no idea that I did that. And I've been doing it since like the late 80s, recording with bass, recording with guitar and keyboards. And I spent so much time doing that's why, I don't really have a lot of facility on the drums, like when I see like guys like, Andy Predrell or like, Larnell, and I was like, wow, that's a drummer, like, that's a drummer, but then,
yeah. I get what you're saying, but you have something that's totally different, which is like this feel to your playing. And I'm just, it's amazing. From the first time I saw you play in person, I had heard you before, but the first time I saw you play, your feel and the way and your time and the way that you're able to, play behind the beat and still make it work, and everyone's still together, and your interactions with the other musicians, the way that you play with other musicians, I think is huge. Like that's an incredible skill in itself.
I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, like the musicians that you've played with and that have played on your albums, it's really incredible. And I love how diverse it is. Like from literally every genre, from 50 Cent, to Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah, some stuff with Justin.
It's like you just run the gamut of the genres.
I appreciate, I just love soulful music and of any kind. And, even like my solo record, the Adam Deitch Quartet, which is like, sort of 60s soul jazz, like really, playing on a bebop kit with like 2 ride cymbals, and then my producer record where it's like hip hop instrumental beats. It's like that sort of thing. And then I went on tour with like Wyclef and, played reggae and like, Haitian music for, and Caribbean music for years. And, if it's soulful and, it grooves, I'm into it, and there's so much more to learn.
Yes, I can see that. Like if it's soulful, it works. And that kind of comes through no matter what style you're playing. I do remember seeing you play with Break Science for the first time as well. Maybe was that a Modern Drummer maybe, or
it was probably MD Fest, yeah.
Yes, Modern Drummer Festival. That's right.
2010,
So
12
good.
years
How is
ago.
it? That's so long ago. I mean, I think of 2010 as just a couple years ago, but
I know. It's over a decade, but those are some great memories, and
yeah.
So it was a really nerve-wracking experience, but it was fun to play with Break Science and kind of do something new and bring a sort of electronic tinge to the festival and talk about things that people weren't really talking about, that were more like about producers. And my dad was like, all I heard was this DJ this and RJD2 and DJ Premier and DJ this guy. I'm like, well, Dad, that's like, the new style. And like, when people look back on this thing, they're going to realize that I was, into producers and electronic musicians that didn't play drums, and I was using their drum programming to play on an acoustic kit, you know, as information to you know, incorporate on the acoustic kit.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm glad I approached it that way. You know, it wasn't as organic as it could have been. If I had brought lettuce or something, you know, but
No,
it was cool that I went
great.
to, you know, break science, I think.
Yes. I mean, I'm thinking about it. This is 12 years later, and I'm remembering, you know, just how great it was, because it was so different and you were ahead of the game in so many aspects. And I also, like, you've always been ahead of the game too on your setup, the way that you arrange things, you know, putting cymbals on the drums and making electronic sounds out of acoustic drums. And that's something I've always been fascinated by, of course, like with sound and cymbal sounds and everything too. But I always knew what you would be into when I heard it, you know, cymbal wise, sound wise. I'd be like, yeah, totally for Adam. You know, stacking things that sound like maybe a little bit broken, even, like it just
Exactly.
it would just work. So yeah, you were definitely like ahead of the curve with that performance. And
it was a funny story because I had gotten that big trash can lid that I used at the Montgomery Festival from I don't know what, I forget the company.
Yeah.
But you know, and like you guys were
I remember this.
I don't know if we can put that on there. And all the comments were, "What is that trash can lid?" You know, it's like people were. What I realized is people were starving for new sounds, trashier sounds. I was, and then when I started doing it, people were like, "That's the sound I like." That's, you know, like. So I just, you know, I really feel like that's the wave. And then, you know, Istanbul really, you know, Agap really hit it on the nose with the clap stack. You know, they you know, they just really smashed. I think it's Trevor Lawrence invented it.
Yes.
And for me, it's like I can't leave home without it. Like I can't play without it. Like, and
again, like making an electronic sound, because it's not necessarily like a hand clap sound. It's the electronic hand clap sound that acoustic stack makes. And yeah, it's really incredible. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, it's a hip hop thing. It's like we grew up with these sounds, and you know, Questlove was, you know, doing the you know, the flam on the snare with the rim click, you know, pretty early on, which I heard he got from a Curtis Mayfield record. But that was like, you know, people were searching for different sounds and like dirtier things, and yeah, so that's going today, and I'm still experimenting with those kind of things. You know, acoustic trigger line, like, you know, things that you don't have to plug in or have a USB or hook it up to your, you know, none of that. Just put it on a stand and it sounds electronic, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
I love
what
it. I love it so much. I mean, and it's so funny to me being in the industry and seeing the trend toward electronic instruments, and then seeing this incredible trend toward acoustic instruments that make those electronic sounds. And that's fascinating to me. You know, it makes me have all these ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm super into that, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what new. I had this idea of like a hand. It's like, you know, wooden hands, and they go, and they go, you know. I was like, how do I get it to, like, you know, look like a hand like this, but they're, you know, I have all these ideas for things, you know, and just like, you know, and they'd be like attached here. And
yes.
You know,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so it like vibrates. It doesn't just
and it has like a really, like, it sounds like 3 or 4 people clapping, but slightly off from each other.
I like it.
You know, stuff like that. I'm always trying to think of stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way. As soon as I hear something that I haven't heard before, I'm like, okay, what is that, and how do I get it?
Yeah.
I love that. We'll talk more about that for sure. I like it. So I want to talk a little bit about your record company. And I love that you like created this record company. You have come out with records on your own label. And I didn't know if that was like in response to um just the industry being it's a really great thing when you get to release your own music and have control over it.
Yeah.
Is that where that came from?
I mean, it's like for years, well, now getting distribution, and digital, because everything's digital. But the record deals were necessary when they had to print up 30,000 copies of your record and put it in Tower Records or Sam Goody, like dating myself, kids won't even know what those things are. But like, hey, kids out there was an era where you have to have physical pieces of your music or no one heard it. And that's when record companies were really, really necessary. Mm-hmm. And since it all went digital and people listen on their phones and plug in their headphones in their phone and in their car, controlling and owning your masters is way more important, and being able to license that to ESPN or a movie or HBO or whatever, and not having a label taking that money, so, to everyone out there, like, especially people in their like late 30s and 40s and 50s, like, you don't have to get a record deal to put your music out anymore, and like research digital distribution and put out your music on your own situation, as soon as you have your distribution, and don't worry about some A&R telling you what you should be doing. It's like, I have a fan base. It's not millions of people. It's a couple thousand. And like, they are down to hear what I'm serving, and it's like, it's like when you go to a Japanese restaurant and you say omakase, like, which means like, let the chef choose what he would like to serve, and that's what it's become. It's like, it's like a chef's choice situation, where it's like the audience just wants to hear what you're giving them, and I don't need to deal with a middle person, and luckily I have my manager Hillary, who's amazing, and she helps me go through all that and get these records out and be organized about the releases and what the singles are and the album art. A lot of that stuff is hard. You need a partner to do that with, someone to go through all that with.
Right.
Doing that all on my own would be really a serious task. I think it's possible, but having someone like my manager Hillary, who is able to go through all this stuff with me and make lists and go, be super organized about it, really helps. And that way I have a release schedule and I know when things are coming out, and and that way my fans can expect it at the right times and get the vinyl delivered at the right time, and the shirt with the vinyl and the whole thing,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of organization for sure. But it is amazing to be able to have control over not only like the licensing and the distribution, but like the creative part of it, and then be able to just be you and put who you are into it and not worry really so much about what anybody thinks of it. Like, you're putting your creativity out into the universe because that's what you're passionate about, and there are people who really want to hear that and to consume it, and that's really what matters at the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
I love that. That's so great. And the name of your record label, Golden Wolf Records, where did that come from?
Well, I grew up at a house. My parents always had golden retrievers, so I love golden retrievers. And then, like, I looked at how, like, they're so different from wolves. Like, goldens are the sweetest things, and wolves, but they're still part of the same family. And like,
yes.
And I it's just funny to me that that a golden retriever is way back related to wolves. And
right.
Just my love of dogs, and and just I just love I have no siblings, so dogs were always my siblings, and they were always there when I was practicing drums. The dogs would be in there in the room, and
yes.
So yeah, Golden Wolf is definitely an ode to the dogs in my life, and my love for just animals in general, I guess.
That's so sweet and meaningful. And I have a golden retriever puppy right now, and
Oh wow, no way.
I love Goldens.
They're the best. They're the absolute most loving animals on the planet.
I'll just hold up this little
Yes,
picture of my baby Charlie.
there he
That's
is.
Charlie baby. Little portrait
Congratulations.
painting. Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. And the sweetest dogs ever. So I love that. That's super sweet. And another thing that you do too is you have your own apparel, and you just mentioned like the shirts that go with the album and that kind of
Yeah,
thing, and that but I think that's a really important thing too nowadays, branding wise, to put that out there and have your, you know, your brand, and people can buy it and wear it and show it.
absolutely.
And
You know, we
yeah.
started doing these Deitch Beats Don't Quit shirts, and
Yes.
it wasn't even my idea. It was like Hillary's like, I'm going to make these shirts. We'll see what happens with them.
Mm-hmm.
And every show I play, there's somebody in the front row with a Deitch Beats Don't Quit shirt. And like, it's like, you're people that really love your music, that know it's coming directly from you, from your soul to them, to their ears. They want to wear the shirts. They want to wear the hat, and like, if you don't do that, you're kind of doing a disservice to your business. It's like, it's like, it's not about it's not a cash grab, because it's like, it's not about that. I'm not mass
Mm-hmm.
producing anything. I'm not selling
Right.
Yeezys, like,
Right.
I'm
Right.
just like, I'm for that fan that's like, I want to support him so he keeps doing this, and offering the option to like get a shirt that I design and pick the color and the hat, whatever. This is a Kamani hat. This is a Nikki Glaspie hat.
Oh, nice. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Nikki and Sput. So
Love
as
it.
you know, their family, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't stop wearing this hat. I love the design. It's better than every hat I've seen.
I love that too. I mean, I noticed the hat because it's so cool. Like that design
Yeah,
under.
Nikki designed this hat completely. Yeah,
Nikki is amazing. Shout out
yeah.
to Nikki Glaspie. We
Shout out to
love
Nikki
Nikki.
Glass
And Spot and Kamani,
and
because
Spot,
yeah,
two of
absolutely.
the greats of all time.
I love them. I actually, when I saw your post the other day, with all those people in it, I was like, you know what? Where's Sput? And where's Robert Glasper? And then Robert Glasper commented on the post, and I was like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't believe it, because Rob is so big right now. He's just such a looming
Yes,
figure. But he's like always sending me little messages here and there, and like, how you doing, and like,
I
so
love
great to
it.
see you. And I'm just like, yes. And Sput is kind of like a big brother who looks out for me. And talk about multi-instrumentalist. Like, the dude is
Yeah,
a good as keyboard player as anyone I could name. You know what I
yeah,
mean? He could solo in crazy keys. He spent years.
yeah.
So it's like, those are the kind of music. And Nikki is a great guitar player, funky,
Yes, and
and she can
singer,
play bass.
right?
What's that?
And singer. She's an amazing
And
singer.
singer and writer, and like, that's why I really, really get along with them. Like, because we, are into music as a whole, and we're into like
Mhm.
playing other instruments, and that's who I'm inspired by for sure.
I love that so much. That's yeah. That it's amazing when you are in a community with people that you respect on that level so much as musicians. And
Absolutely.
um I actually, Sput did the VF jams and the Zildjian Live musical directing, wrote all the music, and like
Wow.
brought amazing musicians. Mono Neon was there, and it
Yeah.
was the arrangements were incredible. And so
That's all Sput. That's all Sput
it's
was like, made the
right.
demos at home, sent them to everybody. He actually had the drums done in the demos. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but
No,
like, you got an overview of every instrument before it,
unbelievable.
and then by the time it got to be played, it was like people understood Sput's vision. He's just a visionary. Like,
Yes, he is, right? And then to like watch him musical direct, like watch him, all right, let's go back to this part, and all right, we're going to do, no, we're going to flip that around. We're going to do that this way. I hadn't met him before. This was years back, but I hadn't met him before meeting him at, I think it was a VF Jams. And I was just like, I went up to him in a break, and when we were chatting, and I just said, "You are such a genius, and it's amazing to watch you work." Like
Yeah,
I can see his brain, I can see the gears turning, and it's just and what comes out is this incredible music, just
yeah.
like genius music. So anyway,
Super
I
genius. Yeah,
yeah,
super genius and super humble genius. And
yes,
he doesn't
yes,
use his social media to show people how genius he is. He's just,
yeah,
if you know him, you know he's genius, and you know how he writes and creates it. And like yeah, he's in a league of his own. And I'm just
yes.
super happy to be friends with him.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure he feels the same way too. But yes, that's a fantastic hat. I love that. I'm gonna have to I don't know, hats don't work with me, but I still love to support, so I'm gonna I'm gonna get one anyway. But I do love that, like you said, you don't have to sell a 1,500 t-shirts, right?
Yeah,
Like
no,
nowadays
it's not about that.
you can make small runs of things. You
You make
can
small runs and you make 100 and sell those and
and
order
it's
some
great.
more next time.
Exactly, and those 100 people are, like, so happy to have that, "Deitch Beats Don't Quit" t-shirt, like, they're just really happy about it. I love that.
Yeah, and
Um,
that goes for vinyl too.
yeah,
You don't have to print 1,500 vinyl. You do 200, 300.
right.
Sell those and move on. People just need to understand that that's how independent artists are going to be working in the future.
Yes,
You are your own
absolutely.
business, and you start small, and when you sell out, and you market, you strategize, and like you do it again.
Mhm.
That's where it's at.
That is, that's the future, right? I feel like that's where everything is heading, especially, like, with things being the way that they are and the quarantine making like, pulling everything together, making everything a little bit smaller, like
Yeah.
yeah, but it also makes, things like that possible, where it
Mhm.
wouldn't have been possible back in the day. And speaking of vinyl too, I'm such a fan of vinyl. I always have been ever since I was a kid, and then all of a sudden it kind of came back, which I was very happy about. But I
Yeah.
have seen the resurgence of cassette tapes. And so I don't know, have you thought about like
I
doing cassette?
absolutely want to do cassettes.
Yeah,
I just have a feeling nobody has tape players, yet.
right?
Like I'm not seeing tape players anywhere. There should be mini boombox tape players that are multi-use with USB and Bluetooth, but also a
Mhm.
tape recorder, and it looks like a cool little LL Cool J boombox.
Oh, that would be super
Like
cool.
where are those? Like I
Yes,
wanted to make those. I'm like, who could I talk to make those for me?
that
But
needs to
I think
happen. Yeah.
with that production, artists can now then start selling tapes,
Yeah.
which sound
Yeah.
great. I grew up on tapes. I'm a tape guy. I'm like way more of a tape guy than a vinyl guy or a CD guy. Like I
Yeah.
have boxes and boxes of tapes.
I do too. I never got rid of my tapes, which I'm really happy about now that they're coming back. But I also have this little like Sony Walkman
Mhm.
that still works a bit.
Nice,
So
awesome. That's
I was
cool.
I was listening to, one of Metallica and Justice for All the other day. That's what I had. And I was just like it was so nostalgic to listen to a cassette tape after so many years.
It
Um
probably sounds good on tape too.
it did, it sounded great. It sounded perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it just kinda, like, brought me back to way, way back, and all that music reminds me of my childhood anyway, but
nice, nice.
that was so good. It's so okay, so speaking of music, tell us about what you're working on, because I think is the last album you came out, was that the, Age of Imperfection?
Are you sure you're ready for this list?
Oh, I don't know, are we ready?
Well, let's start with the new Lettuce record is about to come out.
Mhm.
Uh, I think February, March, soon, very soon, next few months, and I'm very excited about that. Featuring Bootsy Collins and on one track, and yeah, so that is happening. Um, the new Adam Deitch Quartet, which is like I got a track with Schofield. I got Schofield on the record. God bless that man for
Wow,
getting on his Sidemen's record. Like, who does that? Like
I love
he's just a
that.
sweetheart, and I'm very thankful he's on the record.
Mhm.
So that's the Adam Deitch Quartet. I don't even know if I named that record yet. I have a checklist of all these things I have to do. Dr. Claw, which is a New Orleans thing with Ian Neville and Nigel Hall and Nick Daniels, straight like New Orleans deep funk, Meters-esque style, funk.
Mm-hmm.
I have a new group called Nightcap, which is like some neo soul sort of in the Robert Glasper, but more synthy like vibe,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, with my good friends Ian Gilly and Josh Jay Raskin. I almost said Josh Raskin. Josh Fairman, amazing bass player, producer, and we started this trio. And we first it was like play a session, then it was like let's record 5 more tunes. Now we have 20 tunes,
Right.
So the Nightcap's coming out. It's totally killing. I have a new record that I just recorded with a band called Mountain Lion, which is a bunch of Denver guys that are basically Lettuce and Motet. Me and Shmeens from Lettuce and Joey Porter and Garrett Sayers from the Motet, the keyboard player and bass player from the Motet. And they're a really amazing funk band from Denver. And so I wrote a bunch of tunes for that, and they wrote some tunes, and I'm very excited for people to hear that are into like just that like sort of funky thing that we've been doing for years. Just no horns, which is cool for me. Like I don't have to write for horns, and I can just like, okay, bass, guitar, drums, keys. What can we do with that setting? So that record's coming out. My producer record, which is like the beats with the live drums and me playing bits of samples and bass and keys and stuff like that. That's also coming out. So a ton of stuff is happening. But
that's
most
amazing.
importantly, the Lettuce record is going down.
I love it. I love that. And so will you be touring to support these things? I mean, I feel like you have so much going on all the time.
My touring is 80% Lettuce. And whatever I could fit in between them will get fit in. Again, God bless my manager Hillary, who has to go through the schedule, find out what's tentative, what's not tentative, find these dates, move in. Okay, I got you Adam Deitch Quartet date at Yoshi's for these 3 days. Okay, I got this, like those kind of things, clinics and all, working all those things in. But I wish I could go out and tour with my, with all these projects, but they all understand, like, and I will be doing gigs here and there with all these bands. But as of now, Lettuce has to get out there and do it. It's a giant machine that needs to be fed.
For sure. Yeah. And that'll be so, so good. I cannot wait to hear all this new music. And it's just a lot of exciting stuff coming up for sure.
Right on. Yeah. Just, I use the pandemic, as you said, just to keep things rolling, and to create some new possibilities and not just sit there and twiddle my thumbs and be depressed,
Yeah. Right. Because who needs to do that?
Yeah.
Nobody. And we cannot end without talking about your online lessons, because you launched that as well, Deitch Academy. I've been loving the posts that you're doing, and so tell us about that.
Thanks for asking. Yeah, I've been I've been wanting to do this for years. I wanted to teach the way that I learn and the stuff that I like to learn about. I feel like there's enough people talking about, technique or like drum fill, big crazy 30-second notes and all kinds of stuff. And I wanted to talk about like the stuff that I know the best, which is breaking down my favorite funk drummers from Garibaldi, Mike Clark, Harvey Mason, Clyde Stubblefield, Zigaboo, breaking down Lettuce songs, the beats of Lettuce songs. This is how you play this song, and having it transcribed so they can download a PDF and see it. And, from that, and also talking about hip hop and like the nuances of the music that I love and studied my whole life, I have a kind of weird group of influences, and I'm just using the Deitch Academy as a way to explain that in the easiest, most straightforward way. no BS and no fluff and not a lot of joking around. I'm just kind of like, hey, thank you for being here. And like, this is how you do it. This is it slow. This is it medium tempo. This is it fast. I'm talking about it where it comes from. Here's the music at the bottom, so you can read along. So I just really enjoy that format, and it's going to keep evolving. But right now, I'm just trying to get as many people to subscribe to it as possible.
Absolutely. And I will put a link so that people can find that. I'll put a link on the podcast show notes and then in the YouTube description as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also link to your website, to your Instagram account so that people can follow along with new music and
yeah, the
dates.
IG is where I put most of my stuff. Most of like what's happening gigs wise, last night's show, something like that. So it's sort of like a highlight reel, like ESPN, and what's coming up and what's going on with the Deitch Academy.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll definitely make sure to link that. And I just, like I said, I can't wait to see all of this new stuff from you. I'm always excited when I see something coming out from you and something new. There's always something new with you, and I so appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will see you as soon as possible in person. Until then, I hope that you just keep making great music and stay safe. And I'll look forward to seeing you in person as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing this, and so glad everything's popping. And we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. You take care. Okay. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. Join us each Tuesday for new episodes of Sarah Hagan Backstage.